Hello everyone, in this final video I'm going to explain the final project codes which is chess game. First of all, I want to say thanks to my professor Robin Meshian for him motivation and helps. Okay, this is a readme text which you can affect or a trace of this file in the GitHub. The next one is HTML file. It's so easy, it's so simple. Thanks to my teammates to help me to arrange these codes. It's just inserting scripts and only background. And the next folder is sounds folders, which it's a collection of all songs which is used in the game. And the next folder is image folder, which is background images and also chess pieces images. And let's go to the script. First of all, this is a chessboard JavaScript, which is a portion of all codes which our team produced. Chessboard is a board. Is the raw shape of the chess game, which is used only by putting cubes, white and black cubes, or rectangular. It's better. Thanks to my teammate to help me to make this code. And chess data is a collection of all variables which are used in the code. I want to mention about this part, which is a deep clone, which is a collection or it's a collection of some utilities which are repeatedly used in the chess game project. First of all is a deep clone. It's arrow function, and it used I use this one to have inputs only one object, one argument, and again it used one big code which is in library, and it is clone, which I used from this one from internet. I downloaded. I use this one. Is of one of codes which are I downloaded and are codes from my library. These are free and you can find in the internet. Okay, just data. Yes, and the reason for using this one is to exactly make a copy of the original array or a string, and after that, if we make some change in the copy of the original one, it assures us to don't affect the original one by our changing. I hope you will understand what I mean. Okay, and the next one is choose chess move maker. First of all, there is a initial chess board, which is several, I mean 8 arrays inside array, and with these abbreviations which is explained in the chess data, what each one is a stand for. For example, L stand for light and white, and D stand for black, and for example B stands for bishop, and so on. Yes, it initiates the game not only by this one, but with this one. It is a modular function, which is several functions inside of one function, and I will explain next time in the next file. And its duty is to draw all pieces of the game, and if something change happened inside the board, I mean board, this one, 8 arrays inside one array, it produces animation of pieces movement. So it's this one and this one only make up initiate of the initial phase of game to start for user. Okay, this is a function get mouse position. Its arguments are canvas and event, and its return is an object which has x and y, and its duty is to transform the mouse position to which is absolute position to I forgot the exact word, related to related position, which is the related position of canvas. Because I have two canvases, this one and this one, I need to set this point 0 and set this point 0 for related position by helping this function get mouse position. And there is another function, this is castling, and its duty is to check whether or not castling movement happened, and it used another function inside of it. Its name is revisor duty, which is used the clone again to change the game board. If you remember, the game board was 8 arrays inside one array. Yes, and these are our inside of castling. For example, if the first key of the arrays or game board be K, it start to trace the other movement, and if conditions was okay and was exact to the valid castling, it will make an animation by helping again that modular function to show the castling movement of pieces, which is two-piece move. One is the king piece, and the other one is the rook piece. Okay, and it continued until here, and the next function is promotion. Promotion is also another movement, a special movement like castling, which is if a pawn can reach to end position of the enemy's board, enemy's line, it can be changed to queen. And again, the promotion used revisor, and it was possible for me to put revisor outside of these functions and use globally. Yes, but I didn't do. And these are the if statements, which is controlling of the movement of pieces, and if a piece which is a transfer, which is grabbed by mouse and or selected by mouse by user, and if it is a pawn, or maybe light pawn or white pawn or black pawn, and the arrive pose or the destination place is the top or is the down, it can be make an animation again by using that modular function, and it happened after 2 seconds. It is necessary to make animation properly. And again, there is a select function. It happened when the user like this select some pieces, or again some pieces, and it make a stroke, white stroke, again that position, around that position, and make a sound. Okay, and reselect is another function. It means if user select the first one, and again if he select another place, it means reselect should be recalled, and it again make a white stroke around that place which is selected, and play another sound. It is stroke rectangle. Okay, the other function is revisor board. it is more complicated than other revisor functions which is mentioned before, and it has some local variables, and at first this function make a deep clone again by using that utility, a game board, to make an exact or complete copy without tracing the original game board. Okay, there are a lot of if statements. This one is to avoid picking void space in the board. If we select void space, it doesn't make something, or it doesn't do something, and it doesn't change the turn of the game. Yes, this if statement is to control which side's turn is and avoid to do game consequently. For example, I don't have any rights as a dark user for make a movement and again make a movement. It prohibits me to do consequent doing game. Yes, now the turn is for light side. Okay, this if statement is to let user to cancel the first choose piece by selecting a game. If mistakenly I choose a piece and I decided to move another piece, I can deselect by actually reselecting the first one, and it doesn't happen something, and I can move this one. To avoid a starting and this if statement is to avoid a starting game before starting the counters. It prohibits the movement or acting other functions which their duty is to move before starting the game or before pushing the start button. Okay, this function is to avoid invalid movement which each side kill the same side. That if statement was to prohibit, for example, dark piece to kill itself or to kill mutual sides. For example, if I choose the queen and I ask her to kill this pawn, it doesn't happen something. It used by this situation happened by this if statement. Okay, and these are local variables to make a reciprocation of choosing two pieces to make a movement, or two space to make a movement. The first one is used. I put two at event listener inside of each other, and the first one will happen if unknown one is true, and the second, and this after happening this one, the second one will unlock, and by clicking the second event listener will activate, and it deactivate by changing unknown one the first at event listener function, and these are doing reciprocately to make like this one and this one. I mean two selects, two function each inside of each other, and each time one of them will active, and by activation another one, the first one will deactive. Okay, and this event listener is using canvas 2, which is the showcase canvas, this one, to make some change in to start the game. Yes, and starts dark side at first and start the game, and this variable is used for this event listener is to use a space key as a key to pause the game like this, and for first time it used for start game, and for other times pushing because pause. Okay, next file is just next move. It is reserved file for future extension to move to having a chance to play with computer by using intelligent next move. Yes, okay, this one is just pieces. The next important file is this one. This file is a modular form, which is some functions inside another function, and it return the name of global function. Okay, and the initial game board is this one, as you know, but it's different. It has some difference from the main board because it is exactly an array, 8 array inside another array, but all of them are inside another array. This is a variable, or it's an object. Its components are two arrays, light side and dark side. It's used for counting the died pieces for example, for dark side, if something like this happen, yes, this one happened, it means the length of light increased 1. To remember for next time that we have one dyed piece. For example, if we have another dyed piece, by knowing that we had one dyed piece, the next position of current dyed piece is next to the first one, by using this object. Piece shape. Piece shape is a function which has two components. Those are functions. Its duty is to translate the abbreviations, or for example, LP, which is light pound or white pound, to translate to exact name of variables, which are chess data, these variables. For example, white queen, or white knight, or black bishop. Yes. It returns a segment or a string, and after that the program use these strings, and by using a eval function change this string to a variable that it mentioned, that those are mentioned. Okay, this function is dimension function. I use underline to note that these functions are local functions. It returns the dimension or the position of each piece in the game board, and this function is dimension of dead pieces. Its duty is to allocate a position, an appropriate position for these dismissed piece board for each pieces which is dyed. And it has some complicated if statements. I used these complicated definitions to make these locations dependent on game border size. Yes, and if dimension dyed pose happened by using dyed piece pose d dot unshift 1, it add at the beginning, it doesn't matter at the beginning or at the end, 1, and by doing that the length of dyed piece pose d increased 1, and for next recalling of main function we know that we had a dyed piece. And this one is for light side. Okay, this function duty is as it is understandable, it returns the size of each piece by using border size and padding. And this one is one of the most important functions in this module. And at first it used again deep clone utilities to make exact copy without tracing the original one. It used its job is accomplished by using previous board and fresh board by comparing or changing control of two boards, the stored board of previous recall and the fresh board of current recall. And by comparing the change of those boards, we can, or this function can conclude which piece is moved or which piece is died, and so on. And it is a long function, and its return is objects or some object inside objects. Intersection, it returns intersection. Intersection means the intersection of two boards which has a bit different with each other, and it removed those pieces or those positions which are different from each other, but all other of pieces or positions in those boards are the same, and the return of intersection is exactly it is understandable from intersection in mathematics. It's intersection or untouched or unmoved pieces. And this object is alone or alone. It has other component or other elements, which is start position, end position, which piece is moved, and which is the died piece. Okay. Okay, this function duty is to draw all pieces inside the game board, and I use this function only for draw intersection game board. Okay, died board is a function which show or draw this part of the game, this missed pieces, and it arranged or put pieces which is died or which is hit by other pieces, and put next each other to make these tables. All of thing is doing by this function. Okay. This function is also important function. It is movie, and its duty is by receiving of this object, which is a start point, end point, which is the pieces is moved on died pieces. By receiving this object, it make a show or movement or animation. There are some if statements which is useful. For sometimes we choose an appropriate position to avoid to make an error for the program. Yes, this one is var increment. At first I allocate 1, and by these if statements, if for example if start point x is less than end point of end point x, it means it should be go from left to right, so it increment should be positive number. And if or else if starts x is to the right and end point is to the left, its increment should be minus. Okay. This if statement is to avoid some problems, and this evaluation function duty is to make this string, which is name of some variables, to real variable. It changed the string which is name of variable to real or to exact variable. Yes. Okay. This render is it's inside of movie function. Its duty is to make an animation by using render and modifier or updater or update. Yes, and I recall yes, and this one is animator function, which it used or recall render modifier. And request animation frame. With this if statement, I want to avoid to increasing the number of request animation that cause some lag or interrupt in the system after a while of using the game. Okay, and this one without this function, without underline, means it's a global function of mentioned modular function. That this function used all local functions. This one an exception. It used the other file function, but as you can see, it's change control, movie, died board, and so on. And by this unshift, this I want to say again, it is movie by using the loan or change control, output and loan element of its output. As you can remember, the start and died piece and piece. And diet board is recalled to make this board, and this unshift file, unshift method is to add a fresh board at the beginning of this one, at the beginning of this one, to make the current game board as an old one. For next recall, it would be the old board for next step. And as I told you, it's a specification of modular functions, which its return is the name of global function of on it. Okay, showcase is a graphical functions or methods which are used for making timers. And this banner, it is also an animation which always waiting for some variables which is made by the other files to make some text, like for example now those variables over there, this banner to write waiting for light side. And if something happened, if some variable changed, and it's the banner in the output of banner is changed, or for example again another function is changed, another variable changed, and the result is changed. And banner, and I have another banner 2. Its duty is only to make a pause or unpause, which is affected by space key. Okay, and thanks my teammate to help me to make this. Or thank you. And wind control is reserved for next or future extension. Drag drop is reserved by, I didn't use this one. And initial is I think is necessary for initializing the request next animation. I found this one from internet. Okay. Thank you so much.